looks like we are live. I'm not ready. No one's surprised. Let me just fix this camera. I completely lost track of time. Thought I was all good. I wasn't. Again, no one is surprised. Okay, that should, nope, let's see. Move that camera up just a bit here. Okay, I haven't even cleaned my palette yet. Definitely not ready. Okay. You just said, hello, Lisa, did you find the new rake brush for the fur? Love the finished sea turtle. Thank you. And no, I have not even made any effort. That sea turtle, actually, that took so much time this week. Pretty much everything went towards that. And I need a spray bottle, which, 1 second, missing things. But no, a lot of stuff that I planned to get done this week didn't happen because I had the sea turtle and I also refinished a table. The tables for my red-eyed tree frogs, I did those on Friday and Saturday on top of my normal stuff. There's a lot of stuff. I'm behind on all the things right now. So we're just gonna scrape that palette. Most of the colors that are on here are not colors that I have any use for this painting. It's just that they were already there, so I'll leave them. Okay, just use a glass scraper there. And I'm back to just doing this in gray tones. We're gonna work on the fur. One of the things that I wasn't really sure about for this week, I wanted to get this done, or I was contemplating getting this done off, or not live, and you guys could just, it's the same thing we did on the head. There was no time. There was absolutely no possible way for me to get that done. So that answered that dilemma, or solved that dilemma for me really easily. Violet said, hi Lisa, couldn't watch the entire live stream last week, so I watched the next day. Well, I laughed so hard when you said this guy looked like he got into his mother's makeup. He does. He looks like he tried to eat his mother's makeup. Maya said, hi Lisa, love the Koala. Is using 400 sanded paper too fine for sanding a canvas? I'm using a 7/0. You should be fine. I've used 400. I've used anywhere from somewhere in the 200s all the way up to 1200. 1200 was pushing it. That I think was a bit too smooth, and it wasn't something that I will likely do again. And I did multiple coats of gesso and kept sanding because I wanted to see what'll happen if I make it really smooth. Yeah, turns out there is a point where you can make it so smooth the paint's kind of slippery. That's not my taste. It's not that it didn't work. I mean, it worked. It's just not my taste. But 600, no, you're fine. Maya said, hello, Lisa, loving the cool. Oh, no, I answered that. My memory, it's terrible. Okay. Iced tea. Herbal, though, so, less fun than caffeine. Let's go ahead and, gosh, everything is just a mess in here. How much do you want to bet that what else am I missing that I needed tonight? I'm sure there's plenty. Okay. Moving stuff around. My water palette. Lip gloss. Why does lip gloss need to be in with my paintbrushes? I really need to organize my studio. Moving this around. Okay. So, let's get that reference photo ready. And I'm just going to continue. Now, like always, I'm just going to work in little sections. So the next section I'm going to focus on is this area. Oh, well, I still have part of his face. But we'll start in this too. So I think what I'll do is get a base layer for his arm. And then while that's drying, so I don't have to sit here and wait, with the hairdryer, I'll go up and work on finishing up the face. Emily said, I saw your last live. Zinc white oil paint does not contain lead. Lead oil paint may be sold as lead white, flake white, or crimsonite. I think mine says that I want to say mine said that it did. Maybe I'm mixing it up with another one, but zinc white has something in it that's not good. I know that is considered toxic. I want to say mine said it did, so it may depend on the brand, but I can be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. Gypsy Heart said, good evening, love the sea turtle. Is wondering if you could do a video on how you use your projector exactly for tracing your image on the canvas or tracing paper. I've done a video already that you can see my review on using on the projector. So if you just look up Lachri and projector, it should come up on YouTube. I think that shows you what I did on that one. If not, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that showed you everything you would need to know on how that's done. I mean, I could make another one, but I think there is one. So if you need help right now, that should give you a pretty good idea. Heather said, we lost our 18-year-old cat Monday, so now I know what you're going through earlier this month. I am so sorry. Yeah, it's been almost, 3 weeks now for me? It's better. It gets easy. Having the boys made a difference, and this is what I used to go through this, or see people go through it, I should say, a lot when I worked at the animal hospital, and one of the best ways to heal from the loss of, I mean, they're a family member, especially like 18-year-old. My girls were with me for 14 and 15 years, and so much of it at the end, they required so much health. If you don't know what we're talking about, if you're new, my Italian Greyhounds had to be let go on 3 weeks ago. As you can see, I can finally talk about it without breaking or having a meltdown. Hopefully it stays that way. Out of nowhere, I'll start crying again. So the healing and grieving is an odd process. But that is too thick. We need new paint out. One of the things that I saw really help the most people when I worked at the animal hospital was getting a new pet. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that because they feel they're betraying the one that they lost, but it isn't. That your pet wouldn't want you suffering. So no, that's, if you can get a new cat, and it's not a replacement. That's the thing. It's not a replacement. It's almost like a distraction and putting that like love onto another pet. I find that is the easiest way to heal. And so for us, I did it a little bit backwards. I got the boys right before we knew we were going to, months before we knew we knew the girls didn't have much time. So that made all the difference in the world. Who is texting me? What? Hold on. I can't deal with that right now. Sorry, I just needed to make sure it wasn't something that had to be taken care of right now. So I'm so sorry for your loss, but go adopt a new kitty or buy a new kitty. It is it helped having the boys here. What a difference. I can't even imagine coming home after that and not having them here. Plus, they're just, they're good boys. Let's see. But I've known of people who they felt they needed to mourn for like a year or months or whatever, and it's like they were in so much more pain, I think, what am I paying attention to? That's my base, so we'll come back to that. My in-laws actually did that. They waited quite a few months, and once they got the new puppy, what a night and day difference for them. They were so depressed when they lost their old girl. So, yeah. That is my advice for coping, I guess. I mean, but time, and I know it's so cliche. That's what everyone says, time, you just need time, but time and a new critter to in many cases, chew your stuff up, or in a cat's place. When I had a cat for 16 years when I was a kid, she was my first, real pet that you're super attached to that you lost, besides like a fish or whatever. And when she went, I got a new kitten right next day. I mean, I was out next day getting a new Betty. But the new kitten, I went from a cat that was 16 years old and she had cancer and was not well. So she very inactive. To a kitten who was trying to destroy everything in my bedroom, into paint, into everything. So it's not that she was ever, no animal pet would replace the first cat, but it helped. It really helped to have that distraction of a new critter that needed you to take care of them. And in the case of that kitten who was trying to destroy everything I owned, she was a monster. Let's see. But again, I'm so sorry for your loss. Carol said, Lisa, what brush are you going to be using for the fur? Right now, I'm using a Taklon bristled filbert. This is a number 4. It's not a very big one. And I'm blocking in loosely. Then I'm going to go through, I've got a rake brush that's not in the best condition and I need to get a new one. And then my liner brush. Those will be the main ones that I will focus on tonight. Cat's Art Pick says, I don't have a rake brush. Can I paint fur with a liner brush instead? Absolutely. Thanks, Austin's Art. Jason Ellis said, Lisa, it's a continuation of love to get another pet because you have all that love to give. Exactly, and that's what I feel with the boys. I mean, I already adored these dogs. But after that, I swear I love them even more somehow because, I don't know, it's like all that just got transferred even more onto them. You are so right. Missy said, hi, Lisa, enjoying your Patreon and YouTube tutorials. I only got to work exercise outside, avoid stores in Connecticut. I'd rather stay at home and watch you and paint. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm just kind of dry brushing over this. My paint doesn't, I don't have a ton of paint, ton of water, just enough. I can kind of see my marks underneath, but this gives me a decent base. And actually, now I am going to go through on a lot of this and darken that up because it's almost too light. We want to make sure the fur has a lot of shadows to show through. Beak said, I had my cat for 14 years. We went through depression together. I still miss her. Then 2 rescue cats came in 28 days later. Couldn't bond with them as well. I guess I'm a one cat walk. You know, the funny thing, not funny, but the second cat, I definitely never bonded with like I did the first cat. But she helped me heal. So I didn't get another, well, actually we did have another cat, but she ended up just with a bunch of health problems. My mom took her. But the one, she had some issues. She was psychotic is a way I guess we could go, but she really did help me to heal. As rotten as she was, I don't for a minute regret having gotten her, you know, doing that. It wasn't even an impulse buy. That's just, you get a, you know, if I lose one, I'm going to get a new one. I hope my husband never dies because it's going to be really hard to go out and get a new one the next day. But, that one, I never had another cat that I was in love with as much as I was that first one. But I had that cat from the time I was 4 until I was, 21. She was like a dog. There was very little cat in her. She was definitely more like a dog. She was amazing. I could tell so many stories about her. She was so amazing. And it's funny because the cat that I don't want to say replaced her with, but that I got after, I don't have many stories of other than her being psychotic. We think that cat just had a lot of health problems. The one that I replaced, I keep saying replaced, but that's not the right term. But that I got after her. It wasn't even 2 years old when she started having kidney problems. I mean, the cat had always had digestive issues, and then the kidneys problems started. I mean, she was a non-stop medical disaster. So that may have been part of it. That's me just justifying her being insane. Lisa said, hello, I placed an order with Blick last night and noticed the low Cornell tracing paper is being discontinued. Ooh, have you heard anything about this, the replacement when it's gone? I have not looked into that. Gypsy Heart said, with these longer multi-part videos, do you think you'll ever do a painting like this in a week in between would allow layers to dry for sure for those of us just starting? Wait, what? With these longer multi-part videos, do you think you'll ever do an oil painting? I missed a very important word there. I actually thought about that. We could do an oil painting this way. So I was recently thinking about that. So yeah, I think we should. Missy said, do you do any palette knife paintings? Not often, and this is not a good reason not to do it, but I feel like I'm wasting my paint. I hate seeing so much paint go so quickly. I'm used to like very little paint goes a long way. So that is not like my, no. I do them, the ones that I've done with a palette knife, I've done with supplies that came from Smart Art Box, so I didn't feel like I was wasting my, archive, like the really expensive stuff. So those have been fun, but while we're at it, why not just paint the rest of the body? Let's get the base layer in everywhere. So I'm just kind of blocking in approximately where are the lights, where are the darks, just as a kind of guideline. It does not have to be perfect. We're going over all of this. So don't stress about everything being exact. Like, oh my gosh, my value is a little off. It does not matter. Little koala toes. Speaking of toes, I got an update on Monday for the red-eyed tree frog vivarium. Actually, I don't know if you can see. It'd be upside down. I painted little tree frogs on my fingernails. But anyway, I'm excited. Can you tell? So the update on those guys is they said it'll take a couple of weeks, but they did get started on the vivarium, and I've got the tables are ready for it for when they're done. I had to do 2 tables to balance everything out, but the stand for the tree frogs is ready to go. So they're working on getting the plants, and they have to do all the silicone, and it's a whole scaping thing that they're doing. It's kind of funny because most people, when they get into that terrascaping like that part of the fun is doing it yourself. And I'm like, no, I want it to look good. I don't want to do it myself. I'd rather have it look good and have someone else do it. That part doesn't look fun to me. Keeping the plants, taking care of them, taking care of the frogs, that's fun to me. But no, we'll let the professionals do that. Let's see. Rhonda said, where do you buy your rake brushes? I'm having a hard time finding them. I've not bought one in a very long time. it may have been Blick. It may have been, I don't know where I got the last one. So when I go, I can tell you what I'll do when I start looking. I'll check Amazon, I'll check Dick Blick, and I will check Jerry's. If you go to my website, I do have a supply list there. There's a very good chance I have one listed there. There's a good chance I don't have one listed there. I don't know. I need to update that. Okay. This gives us something good to go on there. We've got his body goes all the way back there. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse that. Now we can start with the liner brush. And I'm just gonna go back to working around the face. We're gonna fill in this fur that we were missing. Well, this is almost dry, so that technically we could work on right now, but I wanna make sure it's all the way dry. Judy said, recently purchased the 72 tin of Derwent Light Fast, but received 72 tin of Pro Color. Made a deal to purchase that one too for a much lesser price. What do you think of the Pro Color? Performance-wise, love the Pro Color. Love, one of my favorite pencils. Light Fast-wise, so disappointing. Only like half of them are Light Fast. So that was very disappointing for me. But some of the Light Fast ones in there are amazing. So that was the only complaint I had about those pencils. Performance, I love them. So they're a great pencil. The only reason I don't reach for them more is I had them separated Light Fast from not Light Fast, and they're not marked on the pencil. So I had to get a chart, and then somehow they got mixed up. I think I was letting a friend use them, and they just all got mixed together, and I have to separate them again, and I just haven't put in the effort. I wish they were marked on the pencil what the Light Fast. Maybe they've changed that, but mine weren't. Hi, Sally. No, Jason, I am not naming them frog legs. They're going to be Murky, Murloco, and Captain Cookie. Anyone know where I was going with that? Also, so funny thing, and I want to go through and change it. The WoW Wiki for Murlocs has them listed as being the basic Murloc, like the green one with the red eyes, is being based off a Cuban tree frog. Not even close. It's based off a red-eyed tree frog. They are not the same thing. Like, wow, somebody did zero research before they typed that in. Like, a Cuban tree frog looks nothing like them. Let's see. Move this guy up here. Missy said, when using the matte spray varnish, you need more than one coat. Can I put gloss medium and varnish over it to protect the colors to brighten up? So the matte varnish, when I put that first, I usually now, I've only really been doing it on a painting where the background's really light, where the darks would smudge right into the lights when I put the varnish over it. Lately, anything that's darker, I've not been bothering with. I've just been putting the gloss varnish, like applying it directly to it. But if you've done a lot of airbrushing, if you know you thinned out the paint in areas a whole lot, then yeah, go ahead and put that matte varnish. And I usually just do one coat. Two coats if I feel like I didn't go super, maybe I needed a little more, but normally one coat's enough. You don't want to put it on thick though, because if you put that on really thick, you will get to where it doesn't, wait, where am I? Here we go. It doesn't want to stick, like it almost beads up on it. So you don't want to you want to put as little coat as possible. So like with the darker paintings like this one, when I go to varnish this, I will not be putting a matte finish. I'm just going to put the varnish straight on top. For many years, I always put the matte finish, and I've gotten over the last few years to where or a couple of years maybe, I've not been doing that because too many times I accidentally put the matte varnish a little too heavily, and it can make it so that the gloss varnish doesn't stick quite as well. It was never a huge issue, but like no one else was going to notice, but I noticed areas where I'm like, that doesn't look quite right. I definitely put the matte varnish on too thick there. So like this one, I won't need to if I had really thinned things out. So like an example would be the owl, which I just varnished. Well, that one I had varnished with oil paint. So that's a little bit different, or I had gone over it with oil paint. But with that one, with that background where I used a ton of water on the background, for those of you on Patreon, you saw that. I did post it on Instagram and Facebook. So the eagle owl, the recent one with the blue background, that blue background, I probably wouldn't want to varnish without putting a spray on it just because I used so much water. Some of it would start to lift or could start to lift. So it really depends on the situation. But yeah, when you use that, I would just do, okay, wait, we have to switch to white. So we'll come dot that right around here. Don't put too many coats. That was a lot of words just to say don't put too many coats. One, it would be probably all I'd recommend. Let's see. DJ said, how did you decide on the idea of your sea turtle with the geometric idea? It's so cool. Thanks. I designed it in Photoshop. So we were talking on a live stream and trying to figure out what we wanted our next live stream to be. And I knew or not live stream, what I wanted for the next Patreon video. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do water soluble graphite or watercolor pencils. And one of the things I said I could do both together. And then a bunch of people said, yeah, that's what we would rather have, a mixed media like that. So that's what kind of led to that. And so what I did is I went into Photoshop, I found the turtle I wanted, I found a background, and I just played around in Photoshop. One layer will be in black and white and one with color, and I just cut out the areas that I want the color to be so I can see what it would look like in different color or combinations, like where do I want the color to end or start and all of that. I could find out in Photoshop first if it'll look good before I ever got into the, ever hit the paper. So here, a lot of these are just short and dense, so they're just kind of little dots as you get into here. If you remember from last week, I talked about you're not stabbing, we're actually making little brush strokes. But in here, I do have little dots, but I still don't want to stab. Oh, whoops. Hold on, let me mute this. I forgot my music was playing. That could get me into some trouble there. I had classical music playing, so I'm sure there's classical music on everything that's available for free. Most would probably be considered royalty free. But anyway, just in case, I totally forgot that was playing. I had to mute it because I didn't want to say the Amazon device and have all of yours go off. Austin Zart said, I'm aiming for Bat Frog for the name. No, I've already named them. We got the names. They're all being named after Murlocs. Gypsy Harp said, I showed the hubby your response last week about not using the same brush for graphite and colored pencil, and he gave me the okay. I must now have all the brushes. That's awesome. Starving Artist Collective said, have you tried to access reference photos on Patreon? Have tried to access reference photos on Patreon sent to a verification site. Seems Patreon doesn't like my IP address. Anyone else had this experience with verification only for reference photos? Or... I'm going to need more information on that one. I'm not sure what's going on there. I haven't seen that happen before. What I have seen happen if I'm not logged in, so it just thinks I'm a random user, when I've tried to get just the reference photos for the live stream, I've had it happen on my phone where it did that, but not on the desktop. So that may be a way to get around that. But when I wasn't logged in, so if you don't have an account there, that may be why. It may be trying to log you in for some reason. Because I did have something kind of similar to that in when I was trying to get the. Actually, I think what computer was it? I think I tried to get it on my phone because I needed to put it onto this computer, which is not the one I normally log into. So I didn't have, and I have no idea what my Patreon password is. So yeah. So maybe try that. Try on a desktop or with a different browser. So we start getting a little bit longer here around the cheek. Let's go a little faster because this is going to take me forever. Again, little dots in here. Oh, I kind of missed that music. It's so quiet now. Carrie said, I was enjoying the music. Thought it took a few minutes for me to figure out where it was coming from. Yeah, I could do music like that in the background, but I would have to get it from my royalty-free site, make a playlist with it, and then use that. So there is a way for me to make that work during the live stream. So I've thought about doing that, just having it super, super low. I'll have to go back and see what it sounded like, because this may end up being an issue for this video. I'll make sure to download it, because worst case scenario, I may have to edit out the beginning of it and then re-upload once we're done, because I'm not sure if I'll get flagged for copyright on that. I don't know if enough would have been heard. I have no idea. I totally forgot it was playing. Luckily, it was classical and nothing that's like super popular but yeah, anything with music gets flagged. So I just need to remember to download this video, because download it, edit the beginning out, and then re-upload it in case that happens. Luckily, I caught it before, we got too far in. And so I'm using more grays in here. I am going to go ahead and lighten that up. It's a little too dark. Add some white to that. Now, when you mix your color, don't try to lighten the whole pot of gray. You will just waste a bunch of color. See how I'm just going into one little area? Just mix into the one small spot. Oops, that paint is on there too thick. Now, once we glaze, we can come back through and highlight stuff too. So it's not like this has to be the only detail we do on the fur. The more you go back and forth, it ends up just looking amazing the more layers you get. So don't be discouraged if you have a layer where you're like, oh, this isn't looking so good. Great, put another layer on top. All those previous bad layers end up adding to more depth. So it's a good thing. Nick said, I could barely hear it. Wasn't even sure where it was coming from my earphones or not. I hope that it didn't pick up, because yeah, the flagging, so this was one thing, I don't know if I told you guys about this. It was one of the most frustrating things to watch. So I was with Studio 71. Do not recommend. It was Studio 71. It started out Collective Digital Studios, went to Studio 71. It's a multi-channel network. So back when I started on YouTube, the information, like now we've got video creators, we have all of this great information on how to build your channel. I didn't know anything. And so I had this company contact me. I had my videos monetized for a short time, and it was all my own music, my own original content, not uploaded anywhere else. My own original, and it was me improv on violin. So it wasn't even like sounded like anything else. So I was uploading music that way. And this was back when you could monetize like right from the beginning. So I ended up, see how I keep twisting that brush, by the way? You don't want a lot of, like, you want to smooth that out. You don't want chunks of paint on there, like the chunk of paint that is now on the side of my hand. But they kept demonetizing everything. And I'm like, I'd already, I had maybe 200 subscribers at the time, so I didn't really care. Now, over the months, that gained. By the time I had nearly 1,000 subscribers, that's when I was contacted by what was Collective Digital Studios and ended up being Studio 71. So what they do, they take 30% of your YouTube ad revenue, but you get paid out every month, even if, like, before you had a threshold, if you think of $100 before they would pay you out. And back then, they were like, we'll give you every month, we'll cover it until, whatever. So they set that up, and it was actually good. And they also gave you tips. Now, when they sign you up, they're like, we're going to get you collaborations. We're going to get you brand deals. We're going to do all these things for you. And I'm, a new YouTuber, and I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. And I mean, 30% of damn near nothing, I just swore, sorry, is nothing. Like, that's for sure if you're going to help me. So one thing, they never set up collaborations. That was one of the big selling points they claimed they were going to do. They never did most of what they claimed they were going to do. But one thing that they did do is get me set up with, like, they taught me how to grow the channel, gave tips and stuff, things that I didn't know. Because like I said, back then, you didn't have people on YouTube who gave you tips. There were not tips on building a YouTube channel. No one really knew back then. And so now I see absolutely no reason to be with an MCN now. So the other thing one of the reasons I stayed with them for many, many years after is, even once I didn't really need them anymore, one, you're in a contract, and apparently their contract would renew for 2 years every time. So if you hit them at the wrong time, it was just the whole thing. But the thing that I liked is if you had issues with YouTube, the network would get involved and help sort them out, whereas I normally don't have anyone to contact at YouTube. So that's a problem. So it was almost like, it's kind of an insurance thing. But the few times I had issues were caused by them. Like when my account, I don't know if you guys remember this, several years ago, my account got hacked. Because it was hacked through them. It had nothing to do with me or my account. It had to do with their entire network got hacked. They had changed all my videos, the titles and the descriptions, to something. I forget what it was for. But it was some hacker group. So that was kind of stressful. That took them a bit to get sorted. And then, what was the other? So one of the reasons that I use Vimeo, I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. This all ties in together. One of the reasons that I use Vimeo is that somebody who was a patron, I used to have all my videos uploaded to YouTube. Well, somebody who was a patron started taking all of those videos and making them into a public playlist on YouTube. So all my stuff that shouldn't be searchable was coming up in searches. So why would someone sign up for Patreon, the thing that pays my bills, if they could just get all that for free? It was very stressful. So I contacted my MCN. They couldn't do anything about it. So that's why I have to go through the trouble of Vimeo, which is a pain. So anyway, They never did any good for me, not any real good. Well, not, I shouldn't say any good. In the beginning, they did get me sorted through, they kind of taught me, gave me some tips like upload every day, little tips like that. So nothing major. Well, then when I decided to leave them, I contacted them in like October, I think it was, and I could have my dates wrong, but I think it was October of 2019, and asked them like, hey, when is my contract up? Just, looking for information there. I think I asked, when was my contract up, and is there something that you guys are offering me service-wise that I'm not picking up on? Because at this point, they were taking like $300 from me a month. I mean, they were taking a lot of money every month, or up to $300, and they were only providing me with maybe $20 worth of services for music, royalty-free music, and I forget what the other thing was. I think it was just the royalty-free music because they canceled most of their other things. So I was like, is there something I'm missing? I'm giving them the opportunity to like sell me on your service. Is there a reason I should stay with you at this point? The guy comes back to me and goes, yeah, it looks like we can't offer you anything, so we're going to go ahead and cancel your account. I'm like, I didn't even say to cancel it, but okay, because it shouldn't have been up until May of this year. So they go ahead and cancel it and told me that it would be canceled in like 30 days. I'm like, wow, okay, because my friends who were with that network, it took a lot more work to get out of it. So the time goes up and I'm still in network, and I'm trying to get everything set up. I signed up like on myself with TubeBuddy, with all kinds of stuff. So I contacted them again, and I'm like, hey, it shows that I'm still in your network. They had no idea what I was talking about because the person I talked to left the business the day after he told me that he was canceling the account. So I forwarded them the messages. They ended up canceling it for me. Great. Then within a few days, I start getting slammed. So then I had to set up, it took a lot of work to get my Google AdSense set back up. It was a nightmare getting this all sorted. Then what was it? I'm sitting on the phone. I actually called my friend Stacy because I was stressed that night. I'm getting hit. It ended up being over 50 videos. So I get 50 notifications one after another that I'm being hit by copyright claims, because every bit of royalty-free music that I used from Studio 71 that was royalty-free as long as that video was live. Like I couldn't use it again on a current video, but anything on old videos was fine. Didn't matter. It all got flagged. I had to pull all the videos. I'm sorry, you're not making. So what they did is they did a copyright claim. All the companies who, again, I had an account with Collective Digital at the time, so I have I'm legal to use that for that to be on the videos that were already up. But they didn't have any way to to let them know that. And so I contacted Collective Digital. I'm like, hey, all the services I used with you that I paid for, I was paying $300 a month for services that were like $20 max worth, I'm now getting hit with all of these copyright claims. So these people are claiming any ad revenue off those videos. Luckily, they weren't videos that were super popular, but still, it's like, you're making money off me, like not me, the people doing the false copyright claims. So I sent in things saying, hey, no, I was with the studio, I have an account. I sent them that information, but Studio 71 still wouldn't jump in and help. Well, we can't do anything now because you're not with us. What? I paid for your service for what? 8 years? 8 years. And now you won't help with the thing that you screwed this up. And so their response was, well, that's why we switched to, who do I use now? Epidemic Sound. They had switched to Epidemic Sound. That's why we switched to them, because it was a problem with other ones. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for legally they should have been involved in that concept because it was a contract issue. So they broke my contract. I could get a lawyer involved, but it's not really worth it because it's not like I make that much off those videos. But it was so stressful and so annoying. So yeah, I don't really have anything good to say about Collective Digital Studios at this time. And if you are a YouTuber and you get contacted by an MCN trying to talk you into signing up, and they're going to do all this stuff and help you grow your channel, say swear words at them and tell them no. Because none of these networks, there's no reason for it. They don't do anything for you, and that's pretty much what everyone else has said. But not only did they not do anything for me, they pretty much screwed me over in the end because of that whole copyright thing with the royalty-free music. So that's why I'm like, I was hit by so many of those. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen with this, so I'll have to remember to download it today, edit the beginning out where I had music playing, because YouTube, it picks up on everything. So anyway, that was a really stressful, don't do it. Don't sign up for an MCN. Let's see. Where were we? Gypsy Hart said he looks at you as a trusted source for all the art knowledge. So all I have to say is this is what Lisa recommends and uses. I'm always like, I need all the things. Our orders unite. Yes. Nick said I could barely hear. Okay, I got that one. Let's see. Carrie said, was very pleasant. For what it's worth, it was loud enough to recognize one of my favorite pieces. So see, yeah, that's why I'll probably have to remove that. I don't know if Epidemic Sound has any of the classics on classical music because I have an account with them. So I don't know if it will just think it's one of those. I'm really not sure with how much I talk over it. So I will have to see how that goes. But I've got a backup plan. I'll just edit the beginning of this out and re-upload it. Let's see. Where were we? Sarah said, I have to admit, I'm not really following you. I'm mostly looking at approximately what part you're working on and then working from the reference photo. That works. Alyssa's Art Ring said, what camera do you use to film your lives? I have been using my iPad and phone, but memory space is an issue. For the live streams, this one is a Logitech Brio. Don't super recommend, not a huge fan of it. My other one is a Logitech like CE something 3930, I don't know, something like that, is the one that's on the palette. The palette one I actually kind of like better, even though technically this one is supposed to be, the Brio is supposed to be superior. It costs a lot more. It's crap. There are so many things I don't like about this camera. One of these days I should do a review telling you why I wouldn't buy it again. Because it was like $200, which is kind of, it's one of the more expensive webcams. I think I paid like $170. It was on sale, but still, I'm not a fan. I do not enjoy. It doesn't. You can't rotate it easily. I have to depend on my stand for that, which is kind of a pain for readjusting things. It doesn't have as many features where you're able to like change, like in OBS, you can go through and change what a lot of things are in there as far as how, settings, and it doesn't let you do that. So yeah, I'm not a huge, and I don't even think it looks really any better than the other ones. So I'm hoping a better webcam comes out. I have my Cam Link, and I need to try now that I've got the MSI. It didn't work with my old laptop. It was too resource heavy, but I should be able to hook that up to my Cam Link, but I need some cables that I don't currently have, and I just never got far enough into it. Like the Cam Link is sitting right there. I know where it is. And that's the thing that allows you to hook up a real camera. So I should probably do that. Actually, I bet my, it's okay. Okay, backing up to the art real quick. So this is gonna look real harsh right here. It's okay when we glaze, we can tone it down and create shadows. So don't worry about that. We're just creating the texture. But I wonder if my new DSLR, the newer one, it's the mirrorless, I wonder if that one would actually be better than my video camera that I record, like the Patreon videos and the stuff that's on here for. It's wonderful. I love it. It's a Canon something or another. It's also really old. And so Cam Link came out far after that camera did. So maybe the newer camera will work better. I don't know. I should look into these things. Let's see. Lacey said, for your surreal pieces, do you have a thought process for coming up with ideas? Sort of. I mean, sometimes I get ideas when I'm at that stage of being halfway asleep, not quite, almost, and something will like go through my head and it kind of evolves from there. Sometimes it's an issue of, or not an issue, a thing of like, I know I want to paint a sea turtle. I know I want, different things elements that I want to combine, and then I just let my imagination run from there. I'll start with kind of a base idea and then go from there. Like maybe it's a landscape. Okay, so I know I want that. What colors do I want my base to be? Do I want it all in color? Do I want some black and white? Like where do I want to go from there? So I'll start from a couple of elements and then figure out a way to combine them. Oops, that's a leaf. Where am I? So there, yeah, I look at it a lot as a collage. So like if you're trying to come up with an idea and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't think of anything. Just think of a few random things, like maybe a koala, a moon, and a tree frog. Now figure out how to combine those things. So that's kind of my process on a lot of it, coming up with these different elements and figure out how to make them fit together. It's an easy way to do surrealism. Or to come up with ideas, I should say, when you feel like, because what a lot of people do is they feel like they are just not creative. Like, I can't think of anything. How do people think of these great ideas? I'll never think of those. I've got that method or that kind of little formula. It's just a way to simplify it. And am I saying that's how all surreal artists work? Absolutely not. but it's a way that you can get into it without like feeling, because I went through that where I'm like, I don't feel like, I want to do surrealism, but I can't think of anything cool. Just combine a few different elements and it'll come out pretty neat and different. Jason said, Lisa, could you create a song, violin music, and record it for a few hours and play it as a background sound? Oh yeah, practice again. Yeah, once I practice, I definitely could do that. But this was what I was having happen with YouTube before. I was getting all of these false copyright claims, like crazy, like this doesn't belong to you. And then YouTube's system of fighting it was so bad, it wasn't even worth it. So one of my videos, one of the very first ones I had music, and again, it was me, it was on violin, playing improv. This was not, definitely didn't sound like anything anyone ever played. You know, it's just long whole notes mostly. So I'm doing dots in this area where the fur is just a little bit shorter right here. That's where it's aiming at the viewer, so it's not just the straight brush strokes. But I contacted YouTube when I got the false copyright claim, and they demonetized the video, I believe. So I contacted them, I told them it was mine. They needed proof that it was mine. How exactly do you want me to prove to you that it's mine? Like, shouldn't it be the person who's making the false claim, their job to prove it's theirs? How do I prove it's mine? It's mine. Like, I did it. It's mine. What do you need? Throughout all of this, they decided that if I provided my address, like told them my address where I recorded it, and that's so ridiculous. It was so dumb. But they ended up, I kept fighting them on that one, and they ended up permanently banning that one from being monetized, that video. And I'm like, there was nothing I couldn't win. There was nothing I could do to fix it because I couldn't prove it was mine. They couldn't prove it. Let them prove that it's theirs. So, like, I'm the one who's, the first time this has ever been heard anywhere on the internet is on this video, so let them prove they've had it uploaded first somewhere else. Like, I was so frustrated with YouTube and how they handled that. And it was clearly that I was talking to a robot. Like, I wasn't talking to a person. So, through the back and forth through all of that. This was, I want to say 2012, right around there, 2011, 2012. So, they ended up randomly, like 3 months later, I get a message saying, okay, we've released that video. It can be monetized now. Like, what? No, I would have made a whopping 5 cents on it. Like, if that. Like, it wasn't making, this was back when I first started with YouTube, so I had no views. So it wasn't like it was a big deal with that. It was just like, why would I put in the effort of monetizing? First off, I already don't think that you should be monetizing before you have very many subscribers anywhere, but very many viewers. Like, and people will argue with me on this. Sorry, I think you're wrong. We know that there is a higher user or viewer abandonment rate on things with ads. And if it's a newer channel, I'm not, and I'll use myself as an example of this. So lately I was looking, what was I looking for? I was looking for tree frog, actually trying to do my research. I've been reading blogs. I've been doing everything I can to learn in addition to talking to the place where I'm getting them. But I was looking for videos on that, and there are not many videos that were decent, and almost everything I came across was absolute crap. I mean, bad. The ads, I have to sit through an ad for another bad video, and then sit through an ad for another bad video that I wasn't going to want to watch. So what I ended up doing, and maybe I missed out on some good ones because of it, but I'm like, I can see how many views this video has gotten. If it's only gotten 20 views, I'm not sitting through your ad. Like, I wouldn't even bother clicking on the video at that point, because at this point I've, kind of been burned a few too many times by absolutely terrible content. And as a general rule, I mean, if the video doesn't have very many views, chances are it's not somebody who has figured out how to make decent content yet. I'm not saying they won't, but they don't know how to do it yet. So the viewer abandonment rate on videos where you're not getting a lot of views yet, where you don't have many subscribers, it is very high. And so I wouldn't really recommend putting ads on it anyway. So I just pulled them all off. I didn't put ads back until I got signed up with Collective Digital Studios, which again turned into Studio 71, because once I was with them, they did protect me from that. Never had another copyright claim again as long as I was with them. They have, I don't know what it is that MCNs are able to do that keep you kind of protected, I guess, from that stuff. But as a normal user, I still will get a random copyright claim that I have to fight. You'll get a lot of false claims. But since I'm not with an MCN now, which is like, what is going on with your system, YouTube, that is set up, that can keep happening? Okay, this is taking forever. Let's see if I can get a little bit in with a rake brush. Sarah's up. Where was Sarah? Come back, Sarah. Sarah said, at your subscriber level, you're eligible for a partner manager. Anyway, wish I could provide you with someone to contact YouTube through, I believe. Yeah, and they used to have those, and then I heard they got rid of that. Not all of them. But like, I knew somebody a friend of mine who has a really large art channel. She said that they're really not doing that anymore, and so she lost her contact. She used to have a partner manager, and they weren't. So I don't know if that's changed. But then I know of a few other YouTubers that do still have them. So I don't know. I don't have one. Let's try this one. This one is there is nothing written on, oh wait, Royal Magic. I can't even read this because it's all worn off, but it's a rake brush. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to use that to start saving some time here. And so what happens with this brush? Just a few, one brush stroke. You can see I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, like and a half brush strokes out of it. So this saves a lot of time. You don't have as much control. It isn't going to look quite as natural usually as doing things with a rake brush. So I'll end up coming through with a few highlights later and breaks in some of this up, create more clusters. The thing you want to watch here is no matter what brush you're using, which direction does the fur move? That is so important. You don't want to just keep making the same brush stroke again and again and again. You've now made a very flat subject. So watch where it curves. Where does that fur change direction? And that's kind of what I'm watching. Does it have to be exact? No. But, kind of go for close there. Watch how it changes direction. It's a very big deal. Yeah, and with a rake brush, what happens is things tend to be a bit too uniform. So that's one of the negatives with these and why I don't want to use them too much. Violet Sky said, speaking of music, what instruments do you play besides the violin? Just the violin. I bought a mandala, but I never really practiced with it. I mean, the fingering would be the same, but the plucking motion, my brain is like, nope, absolutely not. I need a bow. Let's see. Susan said, good morning. FYI, for super realism, I heard recently that koalas can be identified by the markings inside and around the nostrils. It's a unique and very koala for to every koala for the life of the koala. That's the entire life. My gosh, I cannot talk. That's awesome. Alyssa's art room said, you are on computer. I don't have computer in my studio, so I need a camera with video. Okay, so if you're not, if you're live streaming, you have to have a computer. A computer or your phone or you need a mobile device. And so your iPad, those things, they're not ideal for a lot. If that's all you have, use it. Use what you have. So don't do the whole, I'll wait until I get that something else. But you really do want to work towards getting a laptop. I think it is ideal. And the type of laptop you have will make a difference in the speeds and it's all very complicated. The camera with video, and so that's the thing. As far as I know, my camcorder cannot go online. I can't just live stream from that. You can, I believe, with GoPros has a way you can do that, but it's hooked up through your phone. I've never tried that. I don't know. I remember reading that was a feature of it, but I never tried it or went to see how well that would work with the connection, because one of the things I do know, my GoPros do not stay connected to my phone well. Now, maybe it's a difference of the phone, maybe, who knows. I have a Note 10. I had a Samsung Galaxy Note 8 before that. I've never had my GoPro stay connected well. They'll keep, So I don't know how effective that would be. But again, I've not tried it. That would be something you might want to look up online and see how that will work for you. But I know there's supposed to be a way that GoPro can go online. Maybe I should look into that. This is really dense back here, so I'm going to kind of cross back and forth, make it a little bit thicker. Same thing up there. Yeah, I'm not a tech genius when it comes to all of this stuff, that's for sure. What is it? let's see, there's Tim Schmoyer has, his channel is, there's video creators, and what is his video creator? What is the other one that hold on, where's my phone? I'll look it up, I'll tell you right now. I can give you a couple of channels that I definitely recommend. Where is my phone? For looking up gear, this is what I like took all of my tips from. Hold on. Oops. Nope. I'm starting a video. That's not what I meant to do. Let's see. When did they last put up a video? I know I'm subscribed to them. Did nobody do one lately? Think Media. That's who I'm thinking of. So video creators, Tim Schmoyer. Think Media goes through a lot of, I did a lot of research on the gear for vlogging and stuff, and I bought a lot based on their recommendations. So I would look and see what they have or what they recommend for different situations, because they do some really thorough, like just going over all of the tech stuff that like I was really impressed with their quality, what they tell you, the pros and the cons, like they're great. So Think Media here on YouTube. Royal Lang Nickel. It doesn't say that. It says Royal and then, Royal Majestic. If I turn it just right, it looks like it says Royal Majestic. I don't know. Glenn Reese said, the whole music thing seems to be too much of a headache. Why try to fix what ain't broke? Your videos are great as it is. Thanks. Well, the only reason that I would consider, so I can put music in like an edited video because I have what's it called? Epidemic Sound. I pay a monthly fee, or I paid it annually, but I pay a fee so that I can use music from that. And they have great music, like some really good stuff. So I can do that, but the reason that I was thinking of putting it during the live streams is just when it was playing, I didn't even notice until I turned it off, and I'm like, oh, I missed it. It was so nice having just that soft instrumental. I'll put it back on later. I like to have that playing before live streams, because either that or like one of my stations that I listen to on Pandora is Bal Maria, and it plays just a lot of different stuff like that. And I love it because it calms me down. I have a tendency when I'm getting ready for a live stream, I start rushing, and then I get my adrenaline going, and then I make myself sick because I have issues with my adrenaline. So I like flood my system with adrenaline, so the music kind of keeps me calm and apparently makes me late sometimes. Alyssa said, okay, thanks. I have started watching Think Media. They're awesome. Boss Art Tutorial said, what types of videos seem to do best on YouTube? Is there a particular medium that you find draws more interest? For me, it's colored pencil. But to be fair, part of that might be because I know sometimes Sally with Colored Pencil Magazine will share my stuff. That will get me more views. So, I've got a little, you develop some relationships with people who will share it in certain medias, and that kind of gives you a little bit of a push there. But colored pencil generally does really well for me, and acrylics. Like some of my more popular videos, I think one of my most popular right now is the 10 mistakes in acrylic. That one did better than the mistakes in colored pencil. So that's definitely this is going to kind of be fuzzy out back here. I think a leaf goes over most of this. Oh yeah, there will be a big leaf over here, so whatever. I'll just kind of fill in some of this. And again, it's not going to stay this bright. We'll be adding shadows. But yeah, colored pencil typically for me has always been, it had been the most by far. I would get way more views with that. Now acrylic is up there too. In the areas where I want it to be a little bit lighter, more dense, I'm just kind of overlapping again and again in those areas. And then once we glaze, I can come back through with that liner and get a few more highlights and separate things a bit better. Jason said, bring Chicken in and let her sing. Yeah, Chicken, we would be hearing Chicken's... Chicken rewrote the Game of Thrones song and has his own version. That is what we would hear over and over and over again with Chicken. Okay, let's go up. We've got the back end now. So we've got some little toes. And this is too bright. Totally okay. Well, like I said, we'll be shading that. You can be doing all of this with a liner brush if you need to. You do not need a rake brush. This rake brush is actually working way better for me than my favorite one does, because my favorite one is damaged. Way too damaged. I find that rake brushes work a little bit better when they're somewhat damaged, but that one I pushed a little too much. I should have washed it better. See how it curves around this way. I think my face probably keeps going in front of that camera. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna hide this video right off the bat. After, well, I'll download it and then I'll hide it and then re-upload the new one. I'm just gonna assume that'll get caught. If some of you could recognize any of the music, then so will the YouTube algorithm. So I think I'll just not even worry about it or stress myself out about it. Let's just edit that beginning out. Okay. So here, that needs to fade out. Whoops, I definitely need a bit more paint. Just kind of a hint back here. Kind of a bit of a shadow. Yeah, plus with chicken, I would have to remove the boys from the room. Because Wade will eat chicken. Gibson, I don't know if, originally I was worried about Gibson, but Gibson has sense, like when he goes in the chicken room, when the chickens are in their cages, he's not, and those of you who are not familiar, I don't have actual chickens, I have a cockatiel and a parrotlet that we call shoulder chickens, but Wade is, like Gibson goes in there and he's like, I don't care, chicken loves Gibson. Chicken sings and talks and tells him he's a big chicken. I mean, it is funny. Wade is interested in a very different way. Gibson kind of ignores him, but Wade is like licking his lips, obsessed. So chicken can't be free whenever Wade is in the room. He has to be, and I've got a really nice carrier for him, so I could bring him in other rooms, but he likes the chicken room. I don't think that even goes out that far. I think that's just gonna be a leaf. Yeah, one of the things with sight hounds, you don't really let your dogs and the birds loose together. Would definitely not trust them. Like I said, Gibson might be fine, but why risk anyone's life over it? So this will be really shaded, and this fur is just kind of dense. So I'm just kind of moving in every which direction, letting it overlap. And it continues being really dense in through here. Pushing a lot harder with that rake brush to make it kind of solid. Smudge some of this around. Starving Artist Collective said, notice you are holding the brush up close as a pencil now. Does holding the brush different lengths help your stroke? So it depends on if I'm using a liner brush or in the case of a rake brush, then yes. I hold those more like a pencil because I'm not going for a really loose look. I'll be up a lot closer. But on a brush, a normal paintbrush, I'm going to be back way further. It's going to loosen your stroke up a lot. It gives you more control. But when it comes to liner brushes, it's a little bit different. Or in this case, a rake brush. Same thing as, it's just, you know, a liner brush with lots of bristles. I find that I've got more control up closer. Buzz Art Tutorial said, do you have any recommendations for a place to purchase frames or canvas panels and standard canvases? So for canvas panels, frames for canvas panels. So I usually, and right now is weird because of everything with COVID, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm guessing it's stuff that had come from China. That's what I'm noticing, the stuff that is all like plant pots. Good luck finding those right now. The place that I normally go to, like pretty much they're not getting new stock in. So, and unfortunately the one place I go to is always super packed. So I did not have new plants. I didn't get everything potted until last night. We finally went to Home Depot and found some, and I just bought a bunch of them because I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get these again. So plant pots, and I know the ones that I have are marked as made in China, so I don't know if that's why it's an issue right now trying to get stuff, but it seems like the stuff that is more from that area is hard, and I know Hobby Lobby is normally where I got frames, and I think a lot of their stuff did come from China, so when I went in yesterday, because I needed frames, their shelves, they have some, but they are really low. Besides that, I don't know online because I normally never buy them online. That's where I normally got them. But right now it seems like is not the time to find that sort of thing because I have a few things I need to frame and I can't find frames for. I'm sure if I went to enough stores, I might be able to find stuff, but we ended up going to Michael's after, and I didn't even think to look at frames there. I ended up going, I needed some baskets. They didn't have those at Hobby Lobby too. Like they are out of everything. And I don't know if it's a difference in where they get stuff from. I don't know what the deal is, but Hobby Lobby and Callaway's, which is the nursery I normally go to, the one by my house, like they had some plants. I got some plants I wanted, but the pots, and they have not gotten a new order of pots in months. And a lot of stuff like Mexican feathergrass. I really wanted some of that. That was one of my things I knew I wanted in this house, that and crepe myrtles. And so when I went to buy it, they didn't have any in stock. And the girl who worked there told me they probably wouldn't get any in because everything with COVID, they couldn't get new stock right now from out of state. So I don't know what all may have changed. Wow, crickets are loud all of a sudden. But yeah, it's kind of hard to get stuff. So I can't tell you right now for sure. Where I used to go, they were out of everything when I wanted to get stuff for myself. So I don't know if anyone has places online they like to look for frames. I know you can get some from Blick. Probably, I would assume Jerry's too. So that may be somewhere to look. But I always got really good deals, maybe if they were crap, at Hobby Lobby. But like I said, they don't have any. They have some. They just didn't have the size I needed. I needed a 16 by 20 inch. Most common size. Nope. Jason said, when you started shaping the front arm, did you make small strokes, then go over it with longer strokes? I went back and forth. I did both. I was doing long, over short, over long. I went back and forth a bunch with both. Okay, so the fur here, we've got it going in kind of rows, so I want to keep that look. Then it gets a little bit more dense right here. Wow, those crickets are loud tonight. Chicken's in there squawking away too. So when we get into this section, we start getting more separation where the fur, again, very dense and it's going to kind of part. So we want to make sure we capture that. Now, if I go too crazy, too dark, it doesn't really matter. I can come back with the darks after, so you can't hurt it. But, as much as we can, we'll try to start creating that look. So I'd have to thin out with the rake brush just like I would a liner brush with a decent amount of water. Otherwise, it does not give you a bunch of little strokes. If you put the paint on too thick, it'll look just like a normal filbert. Okay. A little bit go in another direction here. This area, I can't wait to start glazing it. You won't believe the difference. And then again, once we glaze, we'll come back through with some highlights here and there, but that's what really makes things start looking a lot better. And for those of you who like charcoal, we're going to be doing another charcoal piece. We're going to draw a rose on Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. We'll be doing that start to finish. I'll be posting the reference photo tomorrow over on tonight, probably tomorrow, over on Patreon, so you can get your rose drawn out first. If you don't have it drawn out, honestly, it's such a simple design. You could freehand it as we go. That isn't a huge deal, but it'd probably be easier for you to have it drawn out first. More water mixed in there. And this is, you could do this with straight white. I have a little bit of gray mixed in with, or black really, to make it the gray, just because that's what I was using for the base layers. Wow, I do not need music with how loud those crickets are. I love that sound. We also get a lot of toads out there, so occasionally you get to hear them too, which is cool. Jason said, do the red-eyed tree frogs have a similar sound as the regular frogs in North America? I doubt it. I'm not sure what they sound like. I've never heard one. Well, I take that back. I saw them on a video, which was kind of sounded like a typical tree frog to me. It didn't sound as loud from what no, wait. Let me back that up. I was told it's not quite as loud. I know my White's tree frog, he would get loud. I guess the red eyes aren't that bad. But I've not heard them in person because they're always asleep when I go into the reptile store. Since that's during the day, they're nocturnal. So that's when they'll bark, is at night. Not terrible unless you have them in your bedroom, which is what I used to have my White's tree frog. That would scare the crap out of you at night. Back in the 90s is when I got him, and it was before the internet. It was before you could really research things. So I had his tank set up in multiple different ways. Initially, I think I had him on bark. Maybe it wasn't bark. I don't even remember what his initial substrate was. But I decided at one point, because, teenage girls are dumb, that I thought it would be pretty to put him on those glass marbles, but the flat ones would be a pretty substrate. And then I filled the bottom section of his tank with water because he liked to sit in it. So that was the way I had his tank for a very long time. Like I kind of made a little hill for it, so it was like deeper water in one area and it came out. But he would dig in it at night, and when he would grab it and just fling it at the glass, so glass marble hitting glass side of the tank, that was loud. That was really loud. That was, and it's not obviously an ideal substrate anyway. It was hard to clean, it would not be something I would recommend a frog to be on anyway, but that was the only time that it was like, this is really, really loud, is my idiot self having put him on glass marbles. And you can't yell at a frog. You're trying to sleep and you're like, Ribs, stop it. Frogs don't care. Frogs do not respond to you at all. He did not care that I wanted him to stop. He was going to keep digging. So the only way I could get him to stop is to put my hand in there and kind of move him to another area of the tank and distract him. Boss Art Tutorial said, I'm loving these multi-part sessions. Will you be doing more of these? Yeah, I'm really liking these. I'm thinking this would be kind of a neat thing to do. I know somebody wanted them in oil paint, so that would be a good one to do. But yeah, these more, longer sessions, definitely. This one is a little bit longer than I would like it to be just because fur is, it's fur. And it is not a fast thing to do. Let's see what direction his leg goes. Looks like a chicken leg. Like a drumstick there. So actually, what would make this easier? I'm just going to put all the fur in one big clump, and then I'll come through and do the rows where his fur is kind of separating. So let's just throw that in there. Just change direction a few times. Let's again watch that photo. Too dense in there. And let's see. It's pretty dense. Oop, getting a little crazy there. Smudge that out. Okay. The cool thing with art, there are a million different ways to get to the same end. So if something's you're not working right for you, try to think things through. Like, how can I make this easier? How can I make this go better? So I'm going to let that dry. We're going to come through and do these little rows that will make it way easier. Cat's Art Pick said, in what areas does the fur change direction on most animals? It depends on the type of fur, and it depends, it'll usually follow muscular and bone structure will determine how that is, and that's just going to depend on how they're sitting, how they're, so much, obviously the fur on the neck is going to tend to move down, but sometimes it'll move out. You've just got to look at the reference photo. There's no one answer to that. Let's see. Lottie said, will you be providing Patreon photos for the new frogs? Also, any plans to draw the pet snake? Definitely for the frogs. The snake, when she gets bigger, I think it'll be easier to get photos of her. She's very hard to photograph because she's small and super active. Let's see. But the frogs, absolutely. I'm really excited to be able to get reference photos there because you guys, maybe you don't know, I love painting red-eyed tree frogs. It's always been my favorite frog, always my favorite to paint. But, you know, getting the photos you want can be a little bit of a challenge, so we'll be able to get our own. DJ said, I used to breed crickets. Yeah, they were loud, especially having them breeding in my bedroom. Oh, yeah. Well, we used to have them in our bedroom, too, when we had the bearded dragon. I had to move the bins into the storage room when I went to bed. Yeah, I'm thinking for ours, we're going to keep them in the laundry room, because it's a pretty big size laundry room. Let's see. Heather said, did you get the picture of the grapes I sent you? I got the message, and I just haven't opened anything yet. So I know I got it. I just haven't looked through yet. This week has been non-stop. Like, I've played Warcraft for like 15 minutes. Which is not normal for me. Usually it's a bit longer. I feel like the only time I sit down is at the easel. So I'm a bit exhausted. But thank you. I just haven't looked yet. Jason said, Lisa, what would you have done if he talked back to you? Think Kermit the Frog. I probably would have peed myself. I don't think I would have handled that well. Okay, I'm going to come back through with some black. Let's create those shadows. So we've got these little rows. I don't know that I need to do this with this brush. I guess it works fine. Hold on. I have been talking to a friend at work and he gets a little loud and then I get distracted. So I will be funny and shush him. I'm hilarious. I can always tell when he gets his friend on the phone versus it's an actual work related thing based on his volume. Okay, so what's happening, and I keep picking it out, and now I need to stop being stupid and just wipe this area away. We need to scrape this because it's getting gooey, and I'm not able to mix it right. It's starting to mix into the paint and come out every time I try to make a brush stroke. So we'll just wipe that away. So we've got these little dense areas. DJ says she was breeding the crickets for her bearded dragon. You know, I love those bearded dragons. We found them a new home when we moved to Texas. I mean, they're reptiles. They don't get attached to a person, so they don't care. But I'm like, that is not an animal I want to drag across the country, you know, from California to Texas. So, but yeah, they were really cool. I tried talking to my husband when he wanted to get the snake. I'm like, just get another bearded dragon. I love them. But he was like, they get too big. He wanted something smaller, and he really wanted a hognose, so. They kind of thin out here. We don't want just an even checker mark as we go up. I still wouldn't mind having another bearded dragon. I don't know where it would go. We're kind of running, you know, we've got enough critters. But I really like those guys. They're like really cool too. Like they handle people really well, except we did get one, I forget. I don't remember what its color was, but it had a more orange tint to him. He was really pretty. Oh, he was a little jerk. You couldn't hold him. We ended up when we moved, we didn't find him a home because I didn't want someone to have to one of my friends to have to deal with him. So I just gave him back to the reptile store. Like nothing we do is getting him used to being handled, or like you walk by the cage and he'd hiss at you. He was nasty, which is not, I mean, at least in my experience, was not usual for bearded dragons. He had an attitude. Should have named him Karen. Let's see. Leah said, I mostly use oils, but since watching your acrylic videos, I bought some Liquitex Basics and started the copper banded butterfly fish. It's a learning curve for sure. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder for you moving from oils into acrylics because you've got to learn. It's a completely different way to blend. Like, you have to paint fast, but they're nice. I love how quickly you can get stuff done with them. Jason said, let him know that he needs to be a little louder so we can understand the conversation. That's what I'm going to tell him when I go out there. He'll laugh at that. Sally said, I sympathize with talking longer than I thought. I sympathize with talking longer than I thought it would. Taking longer. I can't read. The writing is super tiny. My eyes are terrible. I apologize. Taking longer than I thought it would be by painting a Joshua Tree desert landscape scene for my stepmother's memorial. These dang trees are like furry creatures. Oh yeah, trees are long. Lottie said, how about a pet tarantula? They're so adorable. Or a tarantula drawing. You know, it's funny. Who was it? Or what was it? I think... Oh, I remember on one of the live streams I was saying how I want to like have a different intro for a lot of my videos. Like one with, I've got chicken. I want to do a new one with chicken because he flies, like he'll come so I can have him fly in on top of the pencils. I want to do a few different things like that for the intro and include all the different animals. Like on one I could have the tree frog. Maybe it'll just be me holding the pencil in front of the thing, or the fish, or, you know, different intros with the art supplies and animals. And when I mentioned that I wanted to do with the snake, I had quite a few people with the whole, I need a trigger warning. And I'm like, they needed me not to do it. I can't watch those videos. And the funny thing is, my response, my thought was, I'm getting a tarantula then. You don't like the snake? You want to tell me what? I'm so bad when someone tells me what to do. I'm like, I'm going to do the opposite of what you tried to tell me to do. So it did. That was one of the first times I kind of wanted to get a pet tarantula. Next time we were at the pet store, or not the pet store, the reptile store, I was laughing. Me and my husband were looking at them. I'm like, ooh, if people didn't want the snake, can you imagine if I've had a tarantula crawling across the pencils? I think I'm hilarious. You guys probably less so. I do want to get a jumping spider. God, they're cute. But we have them on our patio. I was actually filming them one day. One of them was on the wall and one was on the barbecue, and the one on the barbecue was making his little arms and waving at the guy across it was so cute. Those guys are neat. And they just need like a tiny little enclosure. But I guess I can enjoy them on the patio. I don't see them often though. I like knowing they're there. Yes, I know something's wrong with me. I also have a bunch of orb weaver spiders in my out in my garden, like my plants and stuff. Those guys are pretty cool too. I mean, I don't play with them. I'm not going near them, but I think they look neat. If you don't know what it is and you like spiders, look it up. If you're afraid of spiders, do not look it up. Trust me. Kind of scary looking. Okay, we are about, I mean, there's really not a lot. Get his little toes in there. We can come back through with the black and kind of just here and there darken stuff up. But we're about ready to start glazing, finally. Oh, and it's only 9:17, so this brush really saved a lot of time. Is it as accurate or as clean as it could have been with a liner brush? No. Man, did this just save a lot of time. So if you just have the liner brush, yours will probably look better than mine. I am still going to have to come back through with a liner on some areas. I'll even come back through with this, but we're good. Sally said, no, you always make me laugh at least once in a stream. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, iced tea is good. It'd be better with caffeine. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and start glazing. I mean, we have just details everywhere. So we're going to start on his head. Now, he has this kind of cream color in here. There are purples and blues. I'm going to make mine, you guys are not surprised, a little bit, I'm going to hype up the color saturation from what the photo is, because that's what I do. So I'm seeing the hint of magenta in here. We've got bluish grays in here. We've got a warmer, almost maybe a burnt sienna with a little, and I normally say don't use yellow, but I might warm that up with a little bit of yellow in for the cream areas. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And once I get the color shaded in, I'm going to come back through, put in more hair, and then go back and glaze, and I'm going to work back and forth like that. The thing is, when I come back and do more hair, it is not going to take as long as this did. We got that base in there. The hard part is done. This is the longest part of this video, or this project. So even though I'll be working back over it, back and forth, it won't be as involved as that was. Let's see. Gypsy said, I would love to see you paint a willow tree with some kind, love to see you paint, see how, I can't read, my gosh. I would love to see how to paint a willow tree with some kind of waterfowl underneath. I've tried willow tree, but I can't get the look just right. That would be fun. I like them. Sally said, not yelling at you, just caps to help you out. Thank you. Make sure to do the Lachri fine art because normally, I mean, there's not many of us here tonight, but normally I don't see your questions if it's not highlighted in orange. But caps did help me to read that easier. Wow. And normally we're like, don't use caps. I can't. The way that the back end of YouTube Live is, I can't make the writing bigger like I used to be able to. Anyway. Let's see. DJ said, have you ever seen albino African claw-footed frogs? They are completely aquatic. Had one for 8 years until he escaped the tank a few times. Miss him. I got so attached. I think I've seen them and I can't picture them off the top of my head. I would be surprised if I wouldn't recognize it if I saw it though. I'm pretty sure I know which ones those are. Sorry, got away. Jason said, I don't mind looking at tarantulas, not because of being what it is. It's the long hair going over my skin. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to hold them myself. I'm not really interested in them in that way. But when somebody told me they didn't like the snake and they needed it, I think I was a bit on a roll anyway, though, because at the same time I had I need more paint. I had two people on my bee. What was it? The zebra with the bees. Tell me on Instagram they needed trigger warnings, and I'm just like, you've got to be freaking ridiculous. Like, you've got to be kidding me. You cannot be so sensitive. Like most people, ugh. So anyway, I was just kind of like when people on here were saying that they had issues with snakes, it's just like, you're not going to like everything in life. Put on your big girl panties. Come on. Like, you're going to see things you don't like. It's okay. I understand, and I am considerate when it comes to blood and gore and stuff. I mean, I don't really like to look at that either. But even, it's a live critter. It's a snake and she's adorable. How can you not like her? I don't have the colors out I need apparently. Maybe? Maybe I have to go grab them. Yep, I don't have what I need. Hold on one second. I didn't think I'd get this far tonight, so I don't have all my paints out. Okay, I just grabbed a bunch of stuff. We'll make it work from whatever that is. Sally said, and when they get frightened or mad, they shoot their hairs into you. Do they really? I don't know much about them. I just wasn't, that wasn't ever a thing I was super interested in until people started telling me what to do. And I was suddenly interested in the thing I thought they'd hate. I'm a jerk. Carol said, as long as it's not a rattlesnake, I'm good with it. Yeah, I don't mind looking at them, but I don't want to be near them. Sean said, Blick is good about frames. I got one damaged and called Sunday, and they mailed me a new one. Didn't want the damaged one back, or even a picture of the damage. Recommend them. Oh, absolutely. What was it I ordered recently? I told you guys about it when I did the opening from the stuff from Blick. It was paper. It was my big sheets of Canson Me 10s, and it came with a bend down the middle. And they told me, I did send them photos, but they said they didn't ask for it. I just sent it because, make it easier. And they said to go ahead and dispose of it, and they sent the new one out right away. So they've always been great about that. I'm not going to dispose it. I'll just cut it into small pieces. I'm just not going to pay full price for, I needed them to be big. So now I've got little and big. But yeah. They have great customer service. I've never had issues with them. Jerry's has always been good too, if I'm remembering correctly. But Blick has been the best I've experienced as far as customer service when I had an issue. There was one time I did something wrong. This was years ago. Bronze yellow. That actually might work for this cream area. We'll throw that out there too. Just throwing a bunch of colors everywhere. But I screwed up an order, I missed something in the order or whatever, and so I wanted to contact them, and I contacted them right away. Like, can you get this on there? But it was during the weekend, and it was a challenge, and so they were like, well, I'll put it in for, someone will call you on Monday. I'm like, okay, that's great. Then a little while later, the lady calls me back, and she's like, I don't want this to get messed up. I'm going to figure out how to do this now for you. So they're great. Leah said we had bows and pythons. I always had my mom bring them to school on show and tell day. Nice. See, I bet if more people had them in their class for show and tell, less people would be afraid of some of them. People get so freaked out about stuff they're not familiar with. Okay, so there's this one is a deep violet. I'm going to mix a little bit of red oxide with it because it's a little too violet. We'll tone that down a little bit. Mixing those together. Gonna add a little bit more water to that. And I need a brush to smudge it around, so I'll do this with 2 brushes. Anna said, hi, I don't know if you see me. It's a phobia for me. My daughter's boyfriend had 3 snakes, and he asked me to try to pet the nice one. I couldn't get myself to do it. Amazing they are. Yeah, I understand if somebody doesn't want to touch them, but when they're freaking out about it being in my video, like, it's in my video, it can't hurt you. Like, come on. You got to desensitize yourself to the scary world eventually. Okay. I mean, I definitely would not, like, when my friends come over or whatever, if they don't, I don't try to get anybody to touch animals that they're not comfortable with. I think that's a bit different. That I don't think is fun or cute for the animal. I think that can be dangerous for the animal because if the person jerks, just out of fear and moves really fast, the animal can get hurt. So I would never try to get somebody to hold, like, a bird or hold anything that they weren't comfortable with. But in a video, no one's getting hurt. Except possibly my views. Serendipity Soul Fluid Art with Jan said, hello everybody, so sorry I'm late, but I'm glad to catch part of this live stream. Hello, welcome. So I'm just kind of smudging around. I've thinned this out with water, so we're doing it as a glaze. And I'm looking at my photo, where are my darkest areas? Kind of throwing that in there, and then I'll just smudge it out a little bit. Now here's the important part. As I smudge out these colors, it's just a little bit. Notice how I don't just keep working over, okay, that was too much, how I keep working over and over and over the same area. You will move the paint. I'm just adding some water. I'm going to remove some of that. You will remove the color. So one of the things that I'll often see people do is they take an area, like let's say they put the paint here and they keep blending and blending and blending. And what happens is that outer ring where they were blending, you have this heavy ring. You don't want that. I'm just softening out the edges. You don't need a lot of blending there. We're just toning it a little bit. I've got a lot to do around the nose and mouth, so I'm not even gonna worry about that just yet. That's a horrible mess. I'm gonna pull blues in here too, but we'll start with a little bit of this. Not nearly as dark as what we'll need it. Okay, so and again, this is thinned out with a decent amount of water. Do not mix white in with your glaze. It'll look fuzzy or foggy. That's not the look that we're going for. I'm actually going to pull in a little bit of this bronze yellow. I'm mixing that with what's on my brush. And we've got this cream area in here on this cheek. Again, we're going to come back through with highlights and all kinds of stuff in there. This is starting to tint that color. Highlights, more shadows. We'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff. So let's get a little bit more of that bronze yellow. I'm going to pull a little bit more of that mixture, the magenta that I was using earlier. Minal said, what is a contemporary art? What is contemporary art and what makes good contemporary art? How is it different to modern art? I don't know anything about any of those. That I am no help on. I did not study art history. I don't study art. I'm not interested in most of that. It's not like contemporary art, modern art. It doesn't interest me. So I never cared enough to look into it. So I can't really tell you there. And what makes it good, I would imagine, depends on the viewer. But I really, like I said, it's not my thing. So I really can't give you much there. Lisa said, is the brush that you're blending out with the glaze wet with? It's slightly damp, barely. Good question. And it's only damp because I used water to wipe off an area I got a lot of control with. Jason said, my brothers and I found a garter snake when I was young, and she had babies while one of us was holding her. It was so cool. Whoa. Let's see, a little tint here, a little bit down here. Bored greyhound in the background. Oh, I probably should have filled in there more. Whatever. We'll throw a leaf in there if I don't feel like filling in fur. It's kind of my solution for everything. If it's something like this, I'll throw a leaf in there. If it's marine life, I'll throw a fish in there. Bubble. Okay, let's see. We've got more up here too. I need a little bit of a blue. Let's see what I've got. Hopefully I have a blue out. I didn't think to grab one of those. Yeah, it's ultramarine. That'll work. Here's ultramarine. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's start pulling some of that into some of these shadows. And if it's, like I said, too much color saturation doesn't matter. We're going back over it again. We've got lots of work still to do. And you can have fun. If you like putting the color, you can make it a rainbow koala. You can do all kinds of stuff here. Blue on the nose so that edge isn't super flat. I'll come through with more dark shadows too. Put some blue down here. Pull a little bit off to the side. Susan said, Lisa, do you glaze darks always first? No, not necessarily. It depends on what it is I'm doing. There's almost never an always when it comes to anything in art. It depends on the situation and what it is I'm trying to accomplish. But you don't really glaze lights either. I mean, if it's when I think of glazing light, in my head, it's more just that I've mixed more water in with it. You're not going to glaze white because that's going to give you a foggy look, which is not what we want. If you do want to glaze, though, transparent mixing white is your friend. Sally said, I'm looking at how real his little nose looks already. Thanks. Gypsy said, when I tried that blending technique you're using, the white fur marks slowly disappear. Am I pushing too hard or using too much water in the glaze? I would say you're pushing too hard, and I wonder if you used a little too much water when you did your initial brush strokes. That can do it too. Don't push too hard, because even mine, like let's say here, if I keep scrubbing an area, I may be able to, see, I scrubbed a little bit off there. So that came from pushing too hard and scrubbing, so that definitely will affect it. But it sometimes if you've got a bit too much, because we have to use a lot of water to get the liner brushes to work right, that can make it so it doesn't stick all the way. Or maybe it's just not dry all the way. That can do it too. It was dry to the touch, but maybe it's not really, really dry, just dry to the touch, which is not the same. So if it's not dry all the way, that could do it. Jason said, does your snake get fed in its enclosure or in a separate location that it doesn't associate with striking at hands? She gets fed in her enclosure on a paper towel. And yeah, she goes through her modes where she's got some definite, but she'll be even times where she's out of the cage already. So I don't hold her often because hog nose go through little hissy fits or stages where they've just got a bad attitude. So but hers isn't even so much an attitude as it was her feeding response. My husband would be holding her, and after like 10 minutes, she's like, I'm gonna chomp you. So she seems to have stopped that. I don't think he was holding her or handling her as often, because he was mostly handling her before he fed her. So I think she was starting to associate that. She hasn't really been doing that much. I don't remember the last time she really nailed him was. It's not a big deal when she does, but I don't remember when the last time was. She's been doing a lot better, but like I said, he's been holding her since he's been working from home. Her enclosure is right next to it, or it's on his desk. So she gets handled a whole lot more now. Make a little bit of a darker color in here. But he wasn't really having so much of a problem with her biting when his hand was in the enclosure. She'd already be out and then just be like, and now I'm going to nom you. Again, coming back through, paying attention to where darker areas or lighter areas. Okay, we're going to come back on top of a bunch of this. Start really defining where the highlights and shadows are of the fur. Okay. He's really dark in most of these areas now. I'm trying to think, do I want to darken some? Looking at areas that need adjusting. There are a few that I think I'm going to go ahead and darken now. And I'm just going to glaze a little bit of black. And this isn't thinned out quite as much. And then just smudge that up a little. Got that around the mouth. And I have a lot of work to do around the mouth. That is really not even close to being done there. A little shadow here. We'll smudge that in. We can kind of define these a little bit more too with this brush. It's a little bit easier. Okay, up here is kind of a hot mess. Let's work up there. We've got a shadow that comes around here. And then a shadow, what am I looking at? So this, hold on, I need to line this up here. So here comes up. Then we've got a little shadow here, and then a deeper shadow right here. I've got to work on the inside of that ear. So maybe that's where we will start our focus here. Okay. Rinse those brushes. Now I want to switch to a round brush. So not quite as small as a liner. I want to start creating a little bit more with the clumps and clusters of some of the fur. So I'll probably go back and forth between a round and a liner. Leah said, not being used to acrylics, are you using a lot of wet paper towels in the box to keep the paints from drying out? My smaller piles of paint dried out overnight. Oh, it's just one paper towel that I keep in there. Actually, I think it's like two that are folded together and wet. So that's really it. Some of this is dry from, I'm trying to think when I put, like that one was completely dry. Oop, that one's not dry. That's from 3 weeks ago and it's not dry. That was from the background. We did the background, what, 3-4 weeks ago, and that's not dry yet. So there are a few areas That's still wet in there. It's getting thick. I would need to replace it most likely, but it should not be drying overnight. So I would, even with a lid, I'm surprised that would dry overnight. Is your lid closed all the way? But yeah, I want to say it's 2 paper towels that are decently wet and folded in half. This area here, like all of this would be dry. It's dry now, and it's not even overnight. That will be dry, but the clumps of paint should stay wet longer. And now I have a fun little plasticky piece to roll in my hands. Let's see. Liner brush. That's what round brush. Do I have one over here? I don't even know if I have one. Let's see what I can find. I may need to get my brushes, my big brush thing out. No, it doesn't look like I've got one in there. I've got plenty of liners, which may be what I move more towards, but let's see if I can find anything else. Oh, here's a tiny liner or round that should work. Let's see how this guy goes. Ooh, what are you? Oh no, shouldn't even be in this one. Some of these like this, I don't know if you can see this. I'm trying to see. Can you see how tiny that brush is? That one is going to be more suitable for my water soluble media, not so much for acrylics. I'd use this brush once and it will be dead because it's so short. The paint inevitably is going to build up there so fast that those bristles, that doesn't even belong in this set. That's fine for my water soluble stuff, but not these. You want with acrylics, try to find things that have longer bristles. That's going to give you better results. Got a couple of rounds here. One is just listed at 2. This is a super generic, like came with a set of a whole bunch of other brushes, generic. And then I've got this one is a Koala round, Creative Mark. So that one is listed as a number 3. Obviously, depending on the brand, that is a big jump between a number 2 and a number 3. So the brand is going to make a difference anyway. Okay, so let's zoom in on his head and start working on there now that we've got this base in there. So this is definitely what I would still consider a fairly ugly stage. We've got a lot of work to go, but this guy's definitely taking longer than I anticipated. I forget how long hair takes sometimes. This is all dry, so we need to scrape this out. That makes a horrible sound, kind of. Whatever, you'll work. So we've got these thicker clumps. Oops, too much water is on that brush. Boz Art Tutorial said, which airbrush would you recommend for a beginner looking for a dual action? I think that's what it's called. Any recommendations? Airbrush paints as well. So I don't really recommend, most of the brushes that you'll see are airbrushes. I've had students do this, so I'll tell this story because I think this is pretty typical. Student all excited, they found a cheap set. It was like $75 or $50. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't very much. They found it on eBay. They were all back when eBay was super, super popular. So like, yay, I got an airbrush. And it's like, nah, that's going to work twice. And that's pretty much what it did. So a lot of these, when you get these initials ones, and people will use it once, give the item a good review because it was good once or twice, and then it broke. So I don't recommend getting started just to get started. I mean, you just threw away $50 or $75 that you could have put towards a decent set. So I really like the Grex. That's what I've been using. There you go. I should have the links to that on my website under my acrylic painting supplies, I think, if I updated it. That would be what I would recommend. It's not cheap. Nick can tell you about what he paid for his full setup. He got his more recently. But that is definitely their air compressor. It's a dual action. And the thing that I like about Grex is that you can change the needle. So let's say you start with a number 3 needle, and that's what it comes with. You can go, if you later decide you also want a 5, you also want a 2, you can go and add that on later. You don't have to have a separate airbrush for that. And it's a pretty cool feature. It's something I really, really like about the Grex setup. I've been very happy with the airbrush. Definitely would recommend them, but it's not cheap. You're going to be saving for a while to get it. That's for sure. It's an investment. Worth it, absolutely, but I would rather see you save up and get the better thing than get something that's only going to last a couple of times and you're just out that money. Iwata is also good. You're still going to need an air compressor, and that's the thing people forget. They look at the price of the airbrush. The airbrush is less than the air compressor, so don't forget that. Let's see, this is really dense in here. It's kind of overexposed, so I want to capture that. I like the way the light's hitting there. the airbrush paint that I like. My two favorite paints now are Golden's first and then Holbein right after that for the airbrush paints. Yeah, Nick said without paints, he spent right or just under or over $375. Apparently, I don't know the difference between the over and under sign. Courtney said, my Grex setup was $500, definitely worth the money. And yeah, $500, you know, and the funny thing is $500 is what I spent for my initial setup before Grex was a thing back, like, God, when would that have been? 1998? Like, it was a long time ago. So that is, they've not gone up in price, which is nice. You'd think in that many years that it would have. Oh, thank you, Carol, for the super chat. Oh, thank you. It's so sweet. Goosebumps. And slightly a little bit of tears. Oh. I still laugh. I have the weirdest reactions to things. Austin's heart said, give her all that money. So with this brush, this little round brush, you can see my brush strokes are a lot thicker than they would be with my liner. So I'm just working on the areas that are a bit more dense. This is when we're going to start trying to make things look good. This is when we start caring. Before, where all the other layers, I'm like, it doesn't really matter right now. It does now. This is where it starts to matter, where we're really starting to refine things. Everything else was that base layer. Now we're going to make it look good. And I'm just looking at my reference photo. What are areas where it's a little bit more dense? A little bit, let's see. I'm not pushing very hard. You can see now this, someone had asked earlier about where I'm holding the brush. When I use a liner brush, when I'm doing these little details, that's when I'm going to hold my hand holder closer to the bristles. However, I'm not so close. Don't get so close that you can't see the bristles anymore. You need to have your hand back far enough you can see what you're doing. That is important. Carol said, well, I hope every little bit helps you out. It really does. Thank you so, so much. Now, some of these I'm not going to pull out super far because they need to go over the leaves and I'm going to have to come back through. So I'm going to have to repaint a lot of that. So that area I'm not going to focus on too much. I'm excited. This is the part where it starts getting fun to me. Like, we got the ugly parts in there. Now we get to start making it look good. Unfortunately, you know, we've only got a little bit longer tonight, so we won't get super far on the look good stage tonight. Next week, though, it'll be actually kind of hard for me to leave this guy alone during the week because he's at that fun stage. This is my favorite part of painting. We just, again, keep looking at that reference photo. Copy what you see. Do I need every hair to be exact? Absolutely not, but you do want to go for close. Carol said, might need snake food. We're good on her food. I might need to get stuff for the upcoming frogs, though. Well, definitely need to get stuff for them. Austin's Art said, will you be making a YouTube video of the dog in blue background that you painted? I'd love to see a tutorial of it. Did I not do that already? I didn't, did I? I am so far. So one of the things I decided, I don't know if I told you guys this yet. I was telling my husband this. I'm having like normally Friday would be when I edit videos, but right now that's when I'm doing the live stream. So I lost my editing day. And so I haven't even, and since we moved, I've just not been on schedule anyway. And now they're back to building the house, finishing the last house that's in my area. So after that, I should not have any more issues with recording, doing the voiceovers and stuff during the day. But I told my husband with those, I think I'm just going to do quick little, like, make them a little bit shorter, but still do them. Just get something edited really quickly. Like, I worry too much about, like, oh, I need to get B-roll for this. I need to do that. You know what? Just hurry up and get something edited. Like, it doesn't have to be the most, like, just get something is better than nothing. And that's kind of at the stage where I'm at right now. I'm like, it's not good enough, so I'm not going to do anything. I don't have B-roll or a story to tell about it yet. And it's like, just edit it, just finish the video. So I think that's what I'm going to start doing. And I'm so behind on I have so many videos like that to edit for YouTube. So I think I just need to start doing them. I need to stop doing the whole, I need to do X, Y, and Z to make it even better. Like just do it with what you have. Just go, just edit it real quick. Because I can probably have a YouTube video edited in about an hour. That's not terrible. If I don't put in a lot of stuff, if I put in a bunch of pop-ups, if I do a lot of things that make it visually like kind of cool and more interesting to watch, that's going to take me like 6 hours. So, you know, there's a big difference there, but just get like what I used to do. I'm not even doing that. Just get something up. So that is the plan, to start doing that. Right now it's a little bit hard because the construction is really loud. And normally when I record is during the day. I don't like to record at night because that in the day is when just the way our schedules are, the chickens are still covered. So they're sleeping. They sleep until about 4 p.m. That's when my husband gets up, and then they get uncovered and they're awake all night with us. So we made them nocturnal too, but they're in there with the lights on, so they're going to scream all night. So I don't want to turn the lights off on them because I don't, it seems not fair to them. It's just going to be weird until the construction gets done. But yeah, that is the plan, is just get anything done. Just get a video done. So yes, that is one of them for sure. I thought I had edited that one. I guess I didn't. Austin said, oh, I did that. That's what I was just rambling about, huh? I should pay attention. Now, how thick or thin your line is going to come out depends on how much pressure you add to the brush. If you push hard or harder, you'll get a thicker line. If you just barely let the tip of the bristles touch, you'll get a really thin line. And that is going to be true with any brush. I mean, it'll vary depending on the brush, but the harder you push, the thicker that brush stroke is going to be. Now here, I'm going to go really wet. I'm going to let that be like super whiter than I would normally do on something like this, but I love the lighting here where I like that it's overexposed. I don't know why, it just looks pretty to me. I like that contrast. Oh, and I don't know if you guys can see, Gibson has hit his portion of the night where he is no longer right side up. Let's see if I can show you guys or share, because that seems to be, wrong way. There we go. Oh, it's kind of dark. I don't think you can see. Closest to us are his back legs, which are in the air. You comfy, Gibson? Such a goofball. Okay. And one of the, see, okay, I don't know if you can see. See, there's like a chunk, it's thick of that paint I have, way too thick, way too much on there. I need to wipe some of that off. Watch that. That would have been a bit of a disaster. That would not have been cute. Bored greyhound sign in the background again. Okay, up here, same thing where I was talking about before. I want that to look a bit overexposed, where that light is super bright, shining down on him. We've got a bunch of little hairs kind of out of focus back here. Okay, this ear. Again, look at your reference photo. So many times when a student is having trouble, it's because they're not looking at that reference photo enough. They look at it once and they feel like they've got it memorized, they're good, and they just don't look at it enough. Look at the reference photo. It tells you what to do. It's all in the photo. And when you look at it, you're like, but I don't know what to do when I look at it. You need to paint more. The more you paint and draw, the more you're going to notice in those reference photos. But look at the reference photo. That is a really big deal. That's what it's there for. Sarah said, I've agonized over footage wondering what to say at that spot. I've learned that if I don't have anything to say for a stretch of time, maybe that doesn't need to be in the video. Yeah, possibly. Or you can always throw music over the portions that you don't have anything to say. That's also an option, but I totally know what you mean. One of the videos that I started editing, and I'm going back and forth, I don't know if I want to try to put music over it to fix the audio. Is so absolutely terrible and it's long, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I'd watch it with the audio that bad. Putting music over it might fix it or might tone it down. We'll see. But if that doesn't, I think I just need to do a voiceover. I need a different mic setup for when I do something like that. It was me showing you how to repot and keep an orchid growing. So I may do an entire voiceover. I think I'm going to spend longer trying to edit the video or the audio into making it doable than I would if I just voiceovered it. But I learned an important lesson. The way I had it set up, not the way to go. I need to get like a lapel mic for that sort of setup. This cute little paw. It's so cute. Okay, let's see. We want to start defining where those highlights and shadows are on his head. Right now, everything's very flat. So we can start getting that in there. And we can still go back through and do any shadows or how, we can adjust that as needed. If the white's too white, it's not a big deal. But now we're really just going back through and fixing stuff up. I want to start creating a little bit more with the clumps and clusters of fur, whereas right here it just looks like confetti, just hair, or like little lines. Let it clump. See, I'm putting a little bit more on there and grouping these together. Let it be more dense. Oops, a little too thick on there. I need to switch the direction, it looks like, of the fur. Oh, I'm putting that on right there. Same thing, we've got these clumps and clusters we want to start forming. I hope with watching these multi-part videos that one of the big things to take away from this is that it takes a long time. When you want to create the fur like this, I do it in these multiple layers. It takes a very long time to do something like this. Don't feel like it's something you're going to get done super quick. Now, realistically, I could have the koala done in a day if I weren't, a full day where I wasn't talking and I had 8 hours to spend on him. You can see how I'm getting variation too. So this is another bonus to using a round instead of using the same liner I used on the face or the same rake brush. I'm getting that variation. I don't want all the brush strokes to look the same, and that's a big deal. Yeah, Rhonda, I don't see any comment from you that was removed. I do have certain YouTube settings so to avoid drama, so there's certain words that will get flagged even though your word wasn't meant in that tone, so it may have been that. I used to take them off for the live streams, but it takes effort that I don't want to put into it. You know, honestly, I just started forgetting years ago to remove those, and then I forget to put them back at the end of the stream so that it didn't affect chat. And I don't know if the word filter still affects chat or not, but that may be it. Sometimes there are things that YouTube just won't allow to go through. I was watching a live stream recently, and YouTube was not, I forget what it was, but they were not allowing those comments to go through. I was reading a lot of complaints about some, I don't know what they were trying to say because it wouldn't go through. You guys can actually test it for me. I think the B word, because, you know, people will call me that, that's filtered. So someone see if that word will block or not. Like there would be words that could, that like that. So if that doesn't go through, then we know it's probably my filters that blocked your, whatever your comment was. Kent's Art Pig said, is the koala asleep in the reference photo? He is. I found that when you go to zoos, they're usually asleep, and you know, well, it's the day, so that makes sense. So, well, they sleep all the time anyway. But yeah, getting a picture with a koala with its eyes open is kind of hard, you know, fairly uncommon, at least in my experience. Let's see, Rhonda was saying, where do you buy your rake brushes? I'm having a hard time finding them. I bought mine, actually, hold on, let me stop, because we're, oh, it's 10, so let's go ahead, I'm going to stop, and next week we're going to continue on detail. So we're finally at the fun part of the koala, where he starts really looking like a koala and not like a hot mess. Let me see where I would find those. Let's see. My favorite was the Low Cornell. But that one I was having a hard time. Oh yeah, can't find that one. A 1/4 inch rake from Low Cornell. They have it for $19 plus $3.18 shipping on Amazon. That's Low Cornell. Then there's another, a 1/2 inch they've got listed here for $39. That is not worth $40. Don't spend $40 on one of those brushes. Even the 20, I'm like, it's like a $10 brush. It should not be that much. I think people are just price gouging because there aren't any on Amazon right now. Let me see with Blick. And I'll tell you what brands I would buy if I were buying one right now. Yeah, Starving Artist Collective said for the koala, sleep plus eat is their main function. Yeah, so you're going to find a lot of reference photos with them sleeping. Well, let's see. I'm looking on Blick's website. I'm not seeing anything yet that I'm super like, yay, that's the one I would buy. Let's try Low Cornell. See, I've had a hard time finding those. Like, are they just, is Low Cornell just not going to make supplies anymore? Or what, if they're getting rid of their transfer paper, I think someone was saying, or discontinuing it, makes me wonder. What would, where is my brush? Do I have it over here? So I could look up the number on it. I don't think it's here though. It was over here last week. I don't know where it is now. I've lost it. Oh, that'll be helpful in figuring out what it was. I know it was Low Cornell. Actually, let's do this. Let's just do a Google search. See if anything comes up there. We've got Princeton. Ooh, Jerry's Artorama has a Princeton brush, at least in the photo. I would buy that. I would definitely give that one a try. They're Princeton. Hold on, I'm scrolling. There's a lot of brushes. I wish it took to just the one. Still scrolling. Oh my gosh, Princeton apparently has a lot of brushes. Round script liner. I don't know what they're calling it. That's what I'm trying to find out for you, because the different companies will use different names. Oh my gosh. This is a lot of stuff. Oh, come on. It was in the photo. That's what I clicked on, but there's so many to sort through. Wait, no. I almost got excited. Okay, all that, and it's not there now. It shows in the picture. Can I zoom and see what they name it? Filbert Grainier? Okay, let's see. Filbert Grainier. This would be easier to do on a laptop than Filbert brush. Okay, so Jerry's has a Filbert Grainier, a 3/8 inch for $7.82. Grainer, Grainer. That looks amazing, and next time I place an order, I will definitely be buying that myself. So, and that one was by Princeton. So that would be, or no, wait, Princeton Velvet Touch series. I would try that. I think that looks like it would be a good alternative. Simply Simmons has theirs, and I think did I buy a Simply Simmons one? It's flat. I had to trim the edges on mine. If you turn, I prefer a filbert to be not flat. Let's try that again. I prefer my rake brushes to be filbert, so that rounded versus flat. Flat, it's too harsh, the start and stop point, which is already a challenge when you're using those, to not have it look too like uniform. So a filbert is definitely my preference when it comes to those. But yeah, I would check that one out. That looked good. Yeah, Blick has the Princeton Velvet Touch Filbert Grainer. Grainer. Blick has it as well. So that's probably what I'll switch to. I'll definitely be picking one up for myself, so I can let you guys know how I like it, but the photo looks exactly like what I would be looking for. Courtney said, how are the clownfish? They are good. They're big. I made my husband go in there to see, because they're in my office. He doesn't really go in there often. They're big. They're getting big. They need their new house. They'll be getting a new house sometime in the future. It looks like the plan was an 80 gallon. We'll see if we end up going that big. I kind of wanted more like a 30 to a 40. We'll see. So, no, they're doing good. The mushrooms in the tank are doing really well too. Some of them, they went through a phase where they were kind of, I don't know why they were unhappy, but whatever. It seems to have resolved itself. And I think it's because they were too close together and I rearranged their location. So that's the only thing I changed. That must be what it was. And they seem much happier now. So, because I have some that are really nice and I don't want to lose them. So yeah, they look happy, and I'm sure they'll be happier when they have a bigger tank, but yeah, everything's good. So let's see, Alyssa's art room said, I have that Filbert Grainer, but it does not hold much paint. They usually don't. Do you know, does it hold less than the Low Cornell? Have you compared the two? They usually don't hold a lot, which is fine because you're not usually making big, long brush strokes. So I'm curious now. I'm going to buy it either way because now I really want to know. I'll look out for that for sure. Okay, it is 10:07. I'm going to wrap this up. You can see we're starting to get where it really is looking like for his ears looking good. We're getting there now, and it's just coming back on top of this, and there's a layering process. And so you might think, why would you bother putting all that work if you're going to go back over it? Because all that work shows through these areas where I'm doing these clumps and clusters. Like, it peeks through in little areas, and it's just, this is how I get that realistic fur. No matter what type of fur it is, I use the same method. Now, I'm going to apply it a little bit differently depending on if it's more dense, if it's more long and stringy, you know, you've got variation there. But this is the layering process that I typically do when I am painting fur, where I go back and forth like this. So, and the great thing about it is you can't screw, I mean, if you can't screw it up. If there's a bad layer, you're going back over it anyway. It doesn't even matter. Cat's Art Pick said, thanks again for another great live stream. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. Alyssa said, that I don't know. Okay, so I'll have to buy it next time I place an order, because there was something else I meant to buy that I didn't, that I need. So I'll have to place an order sometimes. See, I don't even remember what it was. I know I need it. I know I forgot to order it last time, and I know that I keep forgetting every time I place an order. I don't know what it is. One of these days it'll hit me. I'm going to write it down. Anyway, thank you for joining. Make sure to check out our moderators live streams, moderators channels. They're here. They've got both. I'm doing really tired. They both have art channels here on YouTube. Nick and Joseph. Links are in the video description. Definitely check them out. Tell them thank you. They help so, so much. And yeah, I think that's it for tonight. I'm surprised. Yeah, Gibson's awake and staring at me. He knows it's about walk time, and he's decided he obsessively knows when it's about walk time. And as soon as I get up, he'll pretty much maul me and walk around nipping at me until I walk him. I mean, he gets excited. It is near walk time, and he'll start that about an hour before walk time. Obsessive. Thank you. I will see you guys on Friday for the charcoal rose. That one will be fun. It'll be super easy because charcoal, super messy, but also easy. So, plus and minus. I'll see you guys this Friday. Bye.